Imagine having the power to just wipe out a god, just completely remove them from existence. How insane would that be? Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to talk about a boot, you know, since I'm Canadian and some of you are awful nationalists or whatever you call people who look down on us Canadians. I'm going to say everything wrong in this video because what can you do about it? Nothing except leave. Don't leave. Don't levi. There you go. There's a really bad way of pronouncing it. Anyways, but you're wondering why I'm wasting your time. And again, it's because I can. Let's talk about a Theros Beyond Death spoiler card. That's what we're here. That's what we're here to meander eventually towards. We're going to be talking about a white card. And before we get to it, I just want to talk about similar cards from Magic's past, all right? So, one of the ones that you're actually familiar with because it's from Magic's past and Magic's present is Disenchant, right? This is the style of spell we're going to be talking about. Things that get rid of artifacts and enchantments. That's where the god concept will tie in, and we'll get to that. But anyways, let's start with Disenchant, all right? Disenchant as we know it right now, the 2020 version. So you can see that's up on your screen right now in a very visually powerful way that you can see with your eyeballs, which is always nice. Make sure to use your eyeballs. Keep them in the front of your face. Best place to have them. So, in this artwork for Disenchant, we can see something getting destroyed. Is it a shield? I don't know. This actually kind of is a theme for Disenchants. There's been a bunch of Disenchants that just didn't make any sense to me. But, I mean, in this one, you can see a ray destroying what's possibly a shield. Disenchant's a very straightforward card, right? 1 white, 1 colorless for an instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Where the holy light of the angels has shone, only purity remains. And this purity concept comes up a number of times, which is interesting because it's not real purity. It's a matter of what the white mage considers to be impure. Because you could literally destroy a holy relic of another white mage with the Disenchant. And how would that be considered impure? So it's interesting to note that purity in the concept of white cards like this is really in the eye of the beholder, as opposed to like a just universal standard of what is pure and impure. Anyhow, the original Disenchant had artwork that made very little sense to me overall, simply because I like it when you're showing something that actually exists in Magic being destroyed. My favorite Disenchants are the ones where they actually show you something you know getting destroyed. So when you look at the original Disenchant, you go, what is that? Who owns a bird plate? What planeswalker owns a bird plate? And who's firing a magic missile at it? Like, the original Disenchant artwork always made me go, what is being destroyed here? What's going on? Part of the reason for that is because Magic artists back in the day just created whatever came into their head. They weren't really given concrete concepts of what cards should be. So the old bird plate Disenchant was the first one. But the first Disenchant I actually genuinely enjoyed was the special Arena Disenchant, where it literally shows a millstone being disenchanted. And I'm like, wow, I actually really appreciate this direct representation. Now, this is a card that destroys an artifact or enchantment. What we're going to talk about are cards that exile artifacts or enchantments. So Disenchant was the progenitor. And then as you go along, they came up with the concept, again, a purity concept of destroying an artifact but completely removing it from existence, so exiling it instead. And we got that with Altar's Light. That showed up in Mirrodin. And that's 2 white and 2 colors for an instant that removes target artifact or enchantment from the game. You can tell this is old school wording. Nowadays it would just say exile target artifact or enchantment. And the flavor text says the altar does nothing. The device is crushed under the weight of its own impurity. So again, we have the concept of the impure, and this would be through the eyes specifically of Ushanti, a Leonin Seer. So this would be an artifact that's being destroyed because it displeases the wild cat people. Now, look at the casting cost. This is 4 mana. The difference between a Disenchant and an Altar's Light is 2 additional mana, essentially doubling the casting cost, right? That's what we're looking at to get to exile an artifact or enchantment. Now that doesn't feel right. It honestly feels like too much mana. So Revoke Existence, which is the card that we're looking at today as the actual spoiler from Theros Beyond Death, is the right balance for this, in my opinion. I mean, I guess technically you could go 2 white and a colorless, exile target artifact or enchantment if you wanted to have an environment where it was harder to destroy, or I should say where it's harder to exile artifacts or enchantments, because exiling in almost every single situation is better. It's a step up from destroying. Because exiling not only doesn't allow them to return the card into the battlefield or whatever. I mean, if you're playing Commander, obviously if something gets exiled, it's different. Or if you're talking about those weird corner case gods that have the, if I get exiled, put me back in your deck clause. But most cases, exiling a card means your opponent's not going to get to use it. They're not going to get to be able to retrieve it back into the game. That is pretty much impossible. There are a few corner cases to get around it, but pretty much impossible, right? So you have a scenario where exiling is strictly, well, I guess I can't say strictly better because there are a few very virtually strictly better, right? Exiling is a nice step forward. So we have Revoke Existence, where they've pushed it to the point where for a white and a colorless, you can exile an artifact or enchantment, no ability to get it back. And also if it ends up, you know, normally if you destroy something, then there will be triggers based on it leaving the battlefield in some cases. Well, exiling doesn't do that in most cases. Most triggers don't take into account exiling, so exiling will allow you to circumvent and go, okay, the nasty stuff that was going to happen when that guy went to the graveyard is now not going to happen. So Revoke Existence on a power level, it doesn't feel too strong at a white and a colorless to exile an artifact or enchantment, especially when you bear in mind that the Theros set will be enchantment heavy by its very nature. And the reason for that is the immortal gods and the things that the gods create out of god stuff. So the Minotaur that we recently talked about in a previous video, made up of that dream stuff, those are all enchantment creatures. The gods and their constructs are all enchantment creatures. So Theros has a heavy enchantment concept. So it makes sense to make enchantment removal in this sort of an environment, especially when this is actually a card that's being pulled back from the previous Theros block, and it makes perfect sense. The gods usually, and we will have to wait and see if they follow this pattern with the new Theros, but the gods usually, just like the Athreos buy a box that we saw, the buy a box promo, these gods are indestructible, which means a destroy spell would do absolutely nothing to them. However, exiling them is the perfect solution to an indestructible enchantment creature. It's like, oh, goodbye, get out of the game, you're gone. You're gone. And so the card is called Revoke Existence. For a white and a colorless, you're exiling an artifact or enchantment, and the flavor text says, the time has come for us to throw off the chains of tyrannical gods and antiquated superstitions. And that is Takaya, disciple of Eurymedes. Yeah, you got problems? You need Eurymedes, huh? There you go. Pretty good, huh? There's a nice dad joke for you. You guys can take that one free of charge. So, Revoke Existence literally shows a god's existence being revoked. That is the ability to remove a god and not have a single trace of them left. They are absolutely obliterated, gone, their essence removed from existence. And you can see in the artwork, you can see this little mortal who is kind of doing some sort of ritual with the staff lifted up in the sky, and you can see this light blazing up out of the staff that they're holding, and the light is coming down upon this god and essentially cleaving them in half and flowing outwards from them as it obliterates the entirety of the god's essence. And that is some epic level flavor. Now, I recognize that as a common, this may not be the most exciting card from Theros Beyond Death. I completely get that. If you look at the card and go, okay, it's a functional common, I understand why it exists, it's reasonable removal, but why are you spending the time to talk about this? Well, for me, the flavor, all the enjoyment you can get from a card has very little to do with the rarity symbol that's on the card and very much to do with the actual essence of it. And it's neat to look at how we started with Disenchant, and then they thought, oh, exiling is really strong, we better make it more expensive. And then they realized, you know what, we can do it at a level of 2 mana. But conceptually, the card representing the obliteration of a god makes it epic tier awesomeness. Like, this is amazing. This is an amazing little ritual that apparently any number of people could learn that will literally, doesn't matter how many people worship you, doesn't matter how strong you are, I can just remove you from existence. That's absolutely incredible, at least from my personal perspective. So, let me know what you guys think about Revoke Existence. This was just a fun little video. It's been a busy day. I didn't have a lot of time to make some kind of big, sprawling, behemoth style video anyways, but I wanted to talk about something flavorful, and I do feel a lot of the time that random commons and things like that, they do get overlooked. People just go, meh, I don't really care about those. Do you care about? I don't give a damn about your commons. All I care about is power. Give me the power. I'm your new god now. Bow down to the gods. Bow down to your new squishy gingerbread god. All right, my friends, so let me know what you think. Thanks for coming on by. Big shout out to my patrons and channel members. I'll leave links here to some other fun videos here on this channel and my other channel. And remember, my friends, together we are the sixth color of magic.